These are
Good afternoon. We're pleased to be joined by Dr. Mohammad Mahmoud Abubakar, the Minister of Environment for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Your Excellency. We're happy to hear some remarks, and if there's room for time for questions, we will take some at the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me this opportunity to say something about the climate change, which is quite an important issue of our time today. And as we have seen, my president has just finished making his own statement, and that is on Nigeria's commitment to the climate action. We have been part of the Paris Agreement, the ratification, and we are committed to giving our own contribution to the latter. As far as our nationally determined contribution, we are right on that. We are sourcing some money through climate financing. I'm proud to say that Nigeria is the first country in Africa to issue a sovereign green bond, which we did in 2017. And we were able to raise over 10 billion naira. Some of that money has gone into energy, some into the environment. For example, we have currently 7 federal universities in Nigeria that are operating strictly on solar energy, and we have another 30 universities that are coming on board, the same solar energy. The green bond was so successful that we have issued a second sovereign green bond. This time around was even oversubscribed to the tune of 119%. And we are now expanding into other areas, again, power, transportation, water supply, building dams. These are areas that Nigeria is making its own contribution towards our NDCs, and also to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 20% unconditionally, and then 45% conditionally by 2030. Also, another issue that is facing Nigeria is the Lake Chad Basin, which has dried up. This is an area where there are 8 African countries that their livelihood has been disrupted this year from this dry up of the Lake Chad. And this is a situation where if we don't do something to recharge it, it will permanently cause problems, not just of displacement and employment, but also security issues. So in that respect, my President Muhammad Buhari, is leading the African countries on an initiative to recharge the Lake Chad Basin. But this is something that we cannot do alone, knowing that a lot of these countries that are situated around the Lake Chad Basin are countries that are poor. And this initiative to be actualized, we will need about $50 billion. So this is something that we will need help from the outside, from the developing countries, from the developed nations. Is something that we must do. This is something that, if restored, will go in a long way in restoring the livelihood, create jobs, and also have more trees that will also help in sinking the carbon. So this is another area that we are doing. At the same time, this is time that we have to involve the youth. As we have seen during the Youth Climate Summit, it is time. We have come to a crossroad. The youth have seen that perhaps the old order is not doing what it's supposed to do. And now they have taken charge. And Nigeria is in the forefront of also bringing youth into this whole affair. Already the government has set up a plan to be including the youth in decision-making in the government, give them robust participation in government. So these are some of the things that Nigeria is doing in its own capacity to make sure that the climate fight is being taken to the last point of it. And I believe with collaboration, the private sector, the youth, this is a fight that we can win and must win, as the theme said. But we must support the youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, please. Could you use your microphone, please?
News and photo features. You mentioned that many of these countries have been harmed and people displaced because of this drought, I think you said. May I ask, how many, can you estimate the number of climate refugees that this has caused, or what your region is facing?
Honestly, I cannot give you a figure, but like I said, there are 8 countries around the Lake Chad Basin. I don't know the exact population, but the thing is there are a lot of people that have already been displaced. There's a lot of insecurity around that area. From a lot of these countries, people have been put out of job. Food is scarce because this water that people rely on for fishing, agriculture, you name it, is not there anymore. The basin has shrunk, I think, to about just 1/10 of its original size. So there's a lot of there are a lot of problems going on, but I can't give you the number, but I know there are a lot of people.
Hi, my name is Zara Hirji. I'm with BuzzFeed News, and I was just hoping to get your general reaction to today's summit. You know, I know it's not a negotiating summit. We're getting all of these announcements, but whether you feel like the announcements go far enough and what could be considered a success, if this is a success, if it's a failure, you know, how you're viewing it, how it ranks in terms of your expectations.
Well, first of all, let me say I think if we were just thinking that it's happening or might happen, perhaps today from the statements, I think we have come to the realization that this is for real, absolutely for real, and it's time for action. A lot of the people that made statement have said it's not time for negotiation, that has been done. It's not time for just simple debate, that has been done. It's time for action. There's this particular young girl, I was just so moved by her statement. And I think I agree in totality what she has said, that is the time now. And she said she wasn't supposed to be there, and I agree. For the first time, we have young people worrying about the climate. And yesterday I said, I don't remember when I was 18 years or less worrying about the climate. And today, we're in a situation where young people like her are worried whether they will survive healthily, let alone having their own kids. So I think the time has come. I believe a lot of these commitments, or not really commitment, but statement that show people are ready to act, like Angela Merkel has said, they will increase their funding. A lot of the developed nations are willing. I think I have hope. Why? Because the influence of the youth now, the all order will understand that something has changed. The strike all across the world, it's like maybe just a test of something to come. There might be something bigger if nothing is done. And the youth are determined. And I'm solidly behind the youth. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Janet Extract from Turkish Journal. You said it'll take $50 billion to redo the whole Lake Chad Basin and the whole area. My question is, which developing countries would you like to see contribute, and which more well-developed African countries might be able to assist in this? And is there a overall plan for that financing?
Initiative called the Lake Chad Basin Basin Water Transfer. And it's through that interbasin transfer that they will now work out the modalities generating the funds, which African countries or developing countries should contribute. any country that can contribute is very necessary. Which developed countries, I mean, the more wealthy developed countries in Africa, Nigeria is one. I can say South Africa is another one. Those countries that are wealthy enough must contribute, because anything happening in that region, in that magnitude, can send effect to other African countries. Of course, the developed countries here, whether Europe, in the Americas, I expect, just like Angela Merkel has mentioned, that they contribute substantially to the recharge of the Lake Chad Basin. Thank you.
Excellent. Do we have any more questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much, and thank you to the Minister for your time.